We'll start streaming in a second, guys, as soon as we're on now. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning, everyone. We are on. We're live. We're triple streaming on TikTok, on YouTube, and on X. This morning, guys, look, we're coming to an end of the 6 weeks holidays. I know some places in the UK, they've already come to an end and kids have gone back to school. What I'm saying right here, right now, this is kind of a companion live stream, or reiteration or confirmation. There are a lot of data points all over the United Kingdom, guys. There are so many data points right now that are pointing towards, I'm just going to say, an incident at a school. What do I mean by that? First of all, the government are insisting now and implementing lockdown drills for all schools. This is unprecedented. It's unheard of. It never used to happen before. Teachers are... So here's the thing, guys, right? In the United Kingdom, teachers are issuing letters to parents to tell parents that they're not to tell their children, basically, not to go near the migrants when they leave school. Paradoxically, the government are also saying that there's no threat to the migrants and the migrants are not doing anything wrong. I don't know, guys. Maybe that's a rock and a hard place. Who do we believe? We've also got the situation that's just happened in America with in Minneapolis. We've got Minnesota. We've got the situation in Scotland where a lovely gentleman of unknown origin, of unknown abode, of unknown anything, decided to go into a primary school in Scotland, and he decided to give them a birthday show. That's kind of not what we want, but look, guys, this is where we are right now. I can't change it. I can't. I wish I could. I really wish I could. When I start to voice my opinions after coming back from the middle, maybe 2003, maybe, people who've been to the Middle East and have spent time in the Middle East, they're quite clear. They say, listen, these two cultures do not mix. But anyway, guys, listen, I want to try and stay on track today, ladies and gentlemen. I do. I want to stay, I really want to try and stay on track. I do believe, hang on. I do believe there is a real threat to schools. Now, there's a lot of data points that are pointing towards this, guys. There is so many data points pointing towards this. I've just talked about a few of them. Also, there has not been a pushback in the UK yet. There has been absolutely no pushback. What do I mean by that? You have seen masses of protests outside hotels, on the street, putting the flag up, and we've seen no pushback. We've not seen a fight back. So here's the question, guys, that I'm going to ask you guys real quick. Somebody's asking to join with Islamic Arabic writing. I don't know what your name is. She had a picture of a lady. Listen, guys, if anybody wants to come on my live stream, send me a message first. We'll talk about what we're going to talk about, and then we'll do the live stream, right? If you just add to come on, it's very difficult because I've done it before. I've done it a couple of times before where I've just accepted people because I don't care. And it just goes wrong, guys. It just goes wrong. Equally, ladies and gentlemen, if anybody wants to call me out, all right, or say I'm wrong or say something counter, please articulate it well, guys. All right. I don't mind anyone calling me out or calling me a liar or saying I don't know what I'm talking about. In fact, you know what, guys? I actually welcome it. You know what? I welcome it because then I'll show you where you was mistaken. Yes, guys, listen, the chat on YouTube as well is getting absolutely wild. Last night, it's getting really wild, guys. So I think I may have to change my policy on calling people out because it gets very difficult when people are spamming. Not this morning because I've got the subscribers only chat on YouTube, on TikTok. But last night, I don't know if you guys were in the chat on YouTube when we closed it down, but last night was absolutely bonkers, guys. We had this guy absolutely trolling, and he's saying I believe he was a black guy, but I don't know. And he was saying he was sick of he didn't want to live among violent Europeans. I said, well, why don't you go back to like, I don't know, wherever you want to go back there. Like, if you don't want to live among violent Europeans, and I don't believe violent Europeans are violent, I believe Europeans are competitive, and that competitive. Listen, guys, this is just a quick little bit of a side quest. Little bit of a side quest, ladies and gentlemen. You know this, you know how people say that, right, okay, so what, and I think last night when I was talking to I was trying to talk to this guy because he was pretty incoherent, sorry. He was saying about, you know, European colonizers and, you know, go to other countries and, you know, and build churches and roads and electricity and sanitation. How dare we? But like, when I was thinking about this more and more, you know, it kind of like, I think we need like, you know, I think we do need like an area of re-education. So where people say that, talk about like, for example, there's only 22 countries that Britain's not militarily attacked, basically. And Belarus is one of them. But that is synonymous with competitivity. So, for example, if you want your tribe, and let's go back to let's go way back. And guys, I will come back onto the school warnings. Guys, I realize I'm going on a side quest right now. I do, guys. I realize I'm going on a side quest. So when people say, "Oh, you're always making war and you're always doing this and you're always doing that," and I think, yeah, but you know what we're always like, you know, it's like, I'm going to say Europeans. You know what Europeans are always doing as well? Like inventing stuff, like an MRI machine, you know, modern medicine, electricity. Well, he didn't invent electricity. Physics, airplanes, you know, the stuff that you probably use every day, the internet. So when people give you this argument, I think a correct response is, if it wasn't for that competitivity, whereby I want a better life for myself, if like Europeans did not have that competitivity inside them, we would literally still all be scraping on the floor for nuts and berries, you know, and maybe a little bit of rabbit meat. That's where we would be, guys. And it's that competitivity that's drove us to succeed. And unfortunately, every 80 to 100 years, there's a big old WW. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let me get back on track. Sorry, guys, I do digress. Let me get back on track, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, I believe, and there's a lot of data points right now, ladies and gentlemen, leading to an incident happening at a school. Now, the data points I'm talking about are things that have already happened in the UK. The main one for me is the fact that these protests have been focused outside hotels. These hotels are very vulnerable locations, you know, very vulnerable locations. It's easy to go to, it's easy to get to, it's easy to navigate towards. And once you're inside that hotel, you kind of can't get out if it's been, you know, if it's been, what's the word? Ensieged, I guess, ensieged. So the same can be said for schools. Guys, it can, you know, it can, and I'm sorry I'm saying that, but the same is said for schools. When the kids go back to schools, little kids I'm talking about now, primary school children, you know, like how are primary school kids and teachers going to defend themselves? I mean, a comprehensive school, yeah, I mean, you've got like the 50-years who are going to go crackers. You've got like PE teachers. You've got like older people in comprehensive schools. But primary schools, there's no protection there at all, guys. No protection at all. Absolutely zero. So I just want to let people know that I believe that the likelihood of an event at a school within this first 2 weeks of the kids going back is like, it's highly likely, guys. It's highly likely. I think if we get to the middle of September, I think you may get the all clear, but I'm not taking it off the cards. The likelihood will start to go down if we get to the middle of September. So that's what I want to talk about today, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, guys, I'm going to come onto the chat. I'll always prioritize the TikTok chat in the morning. Right, let me jump up. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good Sunday, everyone. Good Sunday morning. Cool Cats is here. Simo, Amy Lou, Ann Davis, Jeanette's Healing. Doctor Just Chilling, Vinny Holmes, John Rose, loads of people, so many people, guys. Who's this? Sarah is saying good morning. Good morning to you, Sarah. Daniel Payne, good morning. Raven Lissou, morning all. April Lee, morning all. Dee Marie saying morning, girls. Daniel Payne is saying Raven, Home Secretary. I'm thinking about something else then. What I was thinking about, what I was reading about. Yes, the Home Secretary. Daniel Payne is saying Raven, home education is growing so fast. Yeah, I mean, do we feel safe with our kids at school, guys? Like, I don't know where. Do we feel safe with our kids at school? I would say, and the title of this live stream is, I believe there is a lot of data points pointing to something, an incident. That's all I'm going to say, guys. An incident happening at a school. I've done a live stream on this, guys. If you want to go and check that out, the live stream was do this if you get that, if your school goes into lockdown or something, do this. And I gave about an hour's live stream and I was answering your questions. In short, what I would do if I got that dreaded text message saying the school's gone into lockdown, I would get there as quickly as possible. If I got there within a sufficient time frame, what do I mean by that? If I got to that school and there wasn't police already outside that school, it hadn't been cordoned off, trust me, guys, I would be over that fence and I would be going door to door like Arnold Schwarzenegger on the end of Commando. Jenny, I would be going door to door, room clearing, and I'd find the girls and I'd get them home. I understand why the government advice is to stay away from the school. I do. But guys, trust me, all right? They're your kids. Nobody's going to defend your kids like you will. Hang on, guys. Coral Reefing is saying, hi, mate. Hope you're good. If you get banned again, it's true. I'm not even saying anything controversial. When I'm drinking coffee, I seem to get restricted. April Lee saying, no, nothing's on here today. I hope. April's talking about the last night. It was normally in the morning. We don't get the Liberals because they're all in bed. Debbie Doob saying morning. Jody Lee saying morning. April Lee saying, please block them. They're trolling. You see, I don't like. I don't want to, like, if people have got a different opinion, I want to re-educate them. I do. I want to re-educate them. I want to. Excuse me, potentially 3. It's always 3, guys. It's always 3. If people are trolling me and they're being polite about it and they're not being rude and they're not being rude to anyone else and they've just got an opposite opinion, I want to converse with that person because I want to let them know and give them a different perspective. I want them to step out of their shoes and look at what they're talking about from a different angle. And hopefully we can, change some people's opinions. The only way I'll block someone is if they're being rude or like violent. But I do think I'm going to have to have like some sort of like a different way I deal with them, because on YouTube last night, guys, I don't know if you guys were on, but it was just wild, the comments, and it was just like, it was like a liberal diarrhea gun. It was like a liberal diarrhea gun. And I couldn't deal with it. I couldn't deal with it because they're putting one question up in capital letters. I'm dealing with that. And then you look for the next thing and they're just saying something that's totally irrelevant and it's a different subject. So you're like, right, how do you argue with these people? It's like saying, I don't know. It's like, those of you guys who are military will understand what I'm talking about. It's like saying, 7.62 is better than 9mm. Oh, sorry, 7.62 is better than 5.56. And then somebody arguing the differences between 7.62 and actually saying, no, 5.56 is better. And then the person coming back and saying, yeah, yeah, but those tanks have got no wheels on them, they've got tracks. You're like, how do you like, how do you converse with that? Coral Reefing is saying, unfortunately, you always get those type of people. Yeah, it is. But, I do want to converse with people who are, because I do believe, you can re-educate a lot of people, because, there is a lot of people who just don't have any idea what's happening. April Lee saying, we know when we come in on here, it's about updates on the UK military and aliens. Yeah, we've not done any military and aliens for such a long time. I was talking to my friend last night, actually, in Ukraine. We was talking about the aliens. April Lee is saying, hotels are near schools. We have 3. And April Lee saying, I have a bat. So I was watching a video last night, and it was some parents, right? And some parents. So look, guys, I don't know if this is a thing that happens. I don't. So there was a school, and this school, well, I guess there was a hotel, these hotels, and they were situated near schools. And the oh, hang on. I was talking, I'm sorry, I was watching this. I think she was one of the parents. And one of the parents said she'd phoned the police because there was migrants outside the school. All these migrants congregate outside the school when it's like home time. First of all, that is weird. That's weird, guys. That's like, why are you doing that? And all these migrants were outside the school at home time, and they're all taking pictures and making videos. And this woman, tell me if you've seen the video, guys. There may be multiple. She phoned the police. The police came out and said, right, okay, so there's no law against them standing there, and there's no law against them recording. And that is totally correct, guys. That is 100% correct. There is no law against it. None. So let me ask you guys a question real quick, guys, all right? Just a quick question for you guys. Do we think that it's normal for grown men to gather in groups or on their own outside schools when it's home time? Remember, they don't go in the morning because they're all asleep in their hotels. Like, do you think it's normal? This is a real question, guys. I mean, I know what the answer is going to be. Do we think, guys, I'm woke. I want to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Is it normal, or is it just me that I think that anyone who goes and waits outside a school at home time, taking pictures and videoing people leave the school gates, like, is that not? No, I don't know, guys. Maybe I'm a dinosaur and think it's weird. Maybe I'm in the wrong. Maybe I'm the dinosaur. Right, ladies and gentlemen, listen, guys, I guess we're on now. We are talking about I believe there is a real threat to schools. I do, guys. I believe there should be warnings sent out to parents. Let me be clear as well, guys. This is going to affect a very small amount of people, but I do believe it's going to affect some people. Right, guys, let me just jump up and get these comments. Debbie Doobs is saying our junior school is like Fort Knox, but the infant school you can just walk in. Yeah, like the schools for the younger people, like they don't have, and they shouldn't have any security, because we shouldn't be in a scenario, we shouldn't be in a situation in this country where there is any threat to our children. Coral Reefing is saying tap tap tap. Google it is saying that's so strange. Can't comment on PC because it says I haven't subscribed, but I have. I don't know, Google it. That would be I don't know if you was watching me on your I don't know how that works, Google. I think Google is saying that he was watching him on I don't know, maybe you're on a different account on your PC. I don't know. Candy Rocks is saying, if I had young kids, they wouldn't be going to school, mostly because of the actual poo education. I had to I have to re-educate the girls sometime when they come home from school. You know, some of the things they get told at school, I really do. I have to re-educate them. Jules is saying good morning, and good morning to you, Jules. I hope you're well. Coral Reefing is saying my missus in a bubble, not interested in war. My brother more bothered about how her hair, and she seems worried now. Yeah, I mean, like my sister was so woke 3 years ago. She was so woke 3 years ago, and then she started noticing people that didn't speak English move into her street on the estate. She noticed them moving more and more onto the street. She then noticed them looking in her back garden. She then noticed them hanging around the gates. And now she's gone. She's gone the other way. She's like absolutely crazy about it. But I can remember her. You know, I used to say to her, I'm not going to give you a name, but I used to say to her, I used to say, listen, this is going to end wrong. And she used to say to me, Sean, people are just coming here with their families for a better life. And I said, yeah, some people are, but I know a lot of people are not. You know, and now I think she's starting to understand what's really happening. But unfortunately, guys, it's the critical mass has been achieved. Coral Reefing is saying, figuring out ways on how to get out of this country. Yeah, Coral Reefing. Look, Coral Reefing, you know, I am 100% with you. You know, I mean, I have talked about the US takeover, and I've talked about that quite a lot this week. So I'm not going to go into it in depth, but I do think a US takeover is coming, guys. If you guys have been watching what Elon Musk's been posting, literally yesterday he was like on rapid fire. Like Elon Musk was on absolute rapid fire yesterday. He's pumping. He is pumping, influence into the United Kingdom. And look, guys, this is all part of a planned US takeover. It's all part of World War III, and it's all part of massive, phenomenal amounts of subversion. But look, ladies and gentlemen, I want to be quite clear. I welcome a US takeover. I would welcome anything, even if it was the Tooth Fairy. Literally, guys, if it was the Tooth Fairy, right, came down here and she dealt with everything, I would welcome the Tooth Fairy. I just want to feel safe. I don't want the girls to say, can we walk to the shop and think, oof, yeah, I kind of don't want that because I know the type of people that walk around. I don't want to go to the park. I don't want to go to the park and then some guy come over to me and say, excuse me, mate. And I say, yes. And he says, make sure you don't leave your girls, because we've had men of no particular description, you guys know what I'm talking about, turn up in cars and try talking to the girls. So you're like, wow, what is happening? But you know what, guys? You are starting to see unity. And I did say this last night. I said this last night. If people are worried now about seeing the cross of St. George, you want to be terrified when that changes to a Templar cross. But yeah, sorry, Coral Reefing saying that he's thinking about ways to get out of the country. And I agree, you know, my advice to people with the means right now would be to get out. But then where do you go? Literally, where do you go? I've said the only safe place right now is Antarctica. It is. That is the only safe place right now. Lisu is saying your trolls are one person who comes back with a different account. These accounts are following each other. Oh, okay. Well, Lisu, I don't know. Maybe it's somebody who I was rude to in Tesco's or something. I don't know. Maybe they know me from school. Sean McKay is saying schools need to provide some sort of security, especially for the younger kids too at risk. You see, the problem here, Sean McKay, is government are reactive, and it's chilling. That is a chilling statement. So say that your local MP, I don't know, say that you're in, I don't know, Newcastle. In fact, no, let's think of Newcastle. Let's say you're in Ashford, right? Let's say you're in Ashford, and the local MP in Ashford, in fact, they're Reform, aren't they? It doesn't matter. Whatever your local council is, whatever your local MP is, let's just say they decide to take a proactive measure to put security on schools. Like, first of all, like, where are those security coming from? Like, you see where I'm going with this, guys? A lot of security in the UK, well, we've seen the incident where the security guard was watching the video, right? Is that the guy you want to employ? So first of all, I would say all security companies right now are compromised. They're all compromised. That's what I'm saying, guys. All security companies are compromised. So who provides that security? Who pays for it? But let's just go down that road. Okay? So every time I start talking about something, like, honestly, it does it all the time on TikTok. The signal's just gone on TikTok. Give me a second, and let me see when people get back. I think I'm back on TikTok. I think I'm streaming on TikTok. I don't know. Maybe I'm not. Right, I'm just going to continue. I'll continue with the question, and then when people jump back up, we'll try and figure that out. Right, guys, I'm back. Sorry. So we was talking about security for schools. Like, look at the security guards that are on hotels. Look at the security guards that are in your supermarkets. Like, who would you trust to provide that security? Like, I know that if I turned up, like, I mean, the girls have left like primary and junior school, whatever it is now. But like, if I turned up to the school and there was like a couple of those people on the gate, I would feel less safe. I'd be like, yeah, I kind of don't want these people outside the school. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, just the fact that we're even having this conversation should be absolutely terrifying. You know, it should be absolutely terrifying. Googly saying Putin and Modi in China for a summit, overshadowed by, yeah. So this alliance between what's happening in Europe, guys, I do think we're going to see a Chinese, Russian, European bloc. I do think that's coming. Sean McKay is saying they're F1 vile and only after one thing. UK veterans is saying, morning Raven. Sean McKay is saying parents need to take the security into their own hands. Pro security won't be granted. How do you run that? How do you manage that? You know, how do you manage that for all schools? You know, it's like it's just crazy, guys. It's crazy that we're even having this conversation. April Lee is saying, I have to re-educate at school to teenagers and get myself in trouble. Googly saying, Labour accused of plotting to take car park spy cameras and new fines for motorists. Accused of plotting new car park. I don't know what that means, but look, what I do know is I do know that there's a lot of heat being thrown on Three Pads Rayner. And I think it's funny, guys. Like, I think it's funny people are understanding now that the game is set and there's no way of winning. UK veterans are saying the council in Scotland have been paying overtime to take the Scottish flags down. Do you know what, guys? Get those flags up. Absolutely get those flags up. Because I tell you something, ladies and gentlemen, I tell you something right now. I'll tell you for free. Right, guys, I will jump over to YouTube comments in a second. They're going crackers. Positively crackers. If people are afraid of the cross of St. George, wait till that Templar cross starts going up, guys. Wait till that Templar cross starts going up, because if you do nothing now, it will just get worse. And UK veterans is saying it's weekend work. Google is saying the Kremlin fabricated battlefield victories to convince West to abandon Ukraine, analysts says. Yeah, so Google it. I don't think that's happening at all. There's a lot of propaganda on both sides in this conflict, but you can't deny boots on the ground. You know, I'm in contact with people who are on the front line. In fact, he sent me a message earlier that I can't repeat. You know, and they're telling me that the Russians are pushing every day. The Russians are taking ground every day. So you can't, you know, that may be happening. The Kremlin may be fabricating some victories, but the reality is they're still pushing forwards. Corey Reefin is saying a US takeover, but still won't be allowed firearms to protect ourselves. I mean, I don't know, but if I feel safe, I'm fine with that. Sharon Owen is saying, do you honestly think you are going into a school, getting your kids and leaving the rest behind? I would say, Sharon, under those circumstances, and you've got to think about the circumstances, right? You've got to think about that scenario. You know, it's going to be varying degrees of. There's going to be varying degrees of chaos, varying degrees of carnage. You know, I guess the situation would depend on a lot of different outside factors. But absolutely, I would be going in there for the kids, and you know, and that's it. I wouldn't waste my time on guys. This is human instinct. You wouldn't go in there and like risk your own kids at someone else's expense. I don't know who would. Yeah, I know I'm frozen, guys. I know I'm frozen. I'm back now. Government, Priv Caro is saying governments all over the world would put money in housing bad people, then putting in security for kids. I agree. Laurie, right. Laurie C saying good morning. Google is saying there is already a Chinese-Russian bloc in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Right, I don't know what that is. UK veterans is saying flags and flagpoles in my store. Right, have you got a TikTok? Are you selling on TikTok, UK veterans? UK veterans is saying it's Falkirk Council paying weekend work to remove flags. Do you know what I would do if I was Falkirk? Like if I was working for Falkirk Council, I would take their money to remove the flags. I'd remove them and then I'd put them up a little bit higher. Oh, and then Google is saying China and India pledged to be partners, not rivals. That is a massive, interesting, yeah, that's an interesting development. We'll have to see how that plays out because I've always said Indian Turkey are the dark horses. India and Turkey are the dark horses. UK veterans are saying, yes, I've got a showcase. Right, I'll come on to that afterwards, UK veterans. And if anybody wants a flag, go onto UK veterans or a flag or a flagpole, go onto UK veterans showcase because he is selling Union flags of St. George. Do you have any Templar crosses? Like UK veterans, do you have Templar crosses? Because when those things come out, it's game over. Right, I'm on the YouTube channels, guys, because I'm just seeing the comments are going crackers. Right. UK prep, Lone Prepper, sorry, Lone Wolf Prepper is saying, I think there will be an internet blackout over here, and the regime will blame it on foreign agents. Ewan McGarry saying, good advice for women, carry deep heat for self-defense. You ever had that stuff in your eyes? It's like pepper spray. So just to let everybody know, guys, the law in the United Kingdom is nobody is allowed to carry a weapon. It's not legal. It's illegal. And they define a weapon in the United Kingdom as something that's only intent is to cause harm. So that's it, guys. You're not allowed, like in the UK, you're not allowed to carry said weapon. Matt is saying support is good, but we need physical help. If we stand up and fight peacefully, so here's the thing, guys. All right, like here's the thing. Like here in the UK, and I identified this to reform. I'm gonna say well, pretty much reform came from the Brexit Party. So I was in the Brexit Party, you know, and So I can't remember when I had this conversation. It was to the same people. So they may have been wearing Reform t-shirts, or they may have been wearing Brexit Party t-shirts. So when I said to the people at Reform, this was years ago, guys, like years and years and years ago, maybe 2, maybe even 3 years ago. I could see what was coming to the UK. I could see what was coming to the UK, and I said, I think it was 2022. I'm pretty sure it was 22. Might have been 23. It doesn't matter. So I said to the people at Reform, I said, listen, people need a way to defend themselves from a tyrannical government. And honestly, people were scoffing at me, literally doing this. Sean, we don't have that in this country. We vote for our leaders, and if we don't like the leaders, we get them out. That's why Reform's going to be different. And I'm like, you kind of don't understand the bigger picture, do you guys? You kind of don't understand. I'd like to speak to those people now and just say, how's that voting thing going for you? So as Matt's quite rightly put in, we have no legal framework in the United Kingdom to stand up to a tyrannical government. And again, I don't want to, I've given this example quite a few times because the example's easy to visualize. And then I'll bring it on to what's just happened. So long before the Epping court case, I was saying about that we don't have a legal method. We don't have a legal framework where we can oppose our government. And the example I gave was, if the government came out and they said, right, everybody's firstborn child has to be handed over to the government. And then we think whatever you're thinking they do to that child. And you never see that child again. Let's just say that, I know it's far-fetched, but let's just say that law is passed. We have no way there is no legal way that we can refuse to do that. None. The police would come and the police would enforce that because that's the law. That is the law. And we have no way of opposing that. And when I say this, people say, oh, but Sean, that cause a revolt. Yeah, I know it would. But it's an example. Do you know what another good example is? If the people chose to close a hotel down and they voted for it and it went through a high court and they said yes, then the government came in and said, no, that's not. We're changing the law. That's illegal now. So you can see how some of these legal decisions need to be opposed, but we have no legal framework to oppose them. And if you oppose them, you're breaking the law. And if you break the law, you go to jail. If you go to jail, you leave your family vulnerable. They're out on the streets because you can't pay your bills, you can't pay your rent, you can't pay your mortgage, you can't pay your council tax. So you see the mess that we're in. So first and foremost, before anything else, there needs to be legal protection to oppose a tyrannical government, which we do not have in the UK. The US Constitution does give that. Tracy Doherty is saying the little girl in Dundee is out and the filming her is getting charged. And the one filming her is getting charged. Yeah, unbelievable, guys. Look, and again, when people say, where have all the men gone? They're trying to protect their families. And ultimately, people are in survival mode. And this all comes down to trust. It all comes down to trust. If you've ever been in a crisis situation, I've been in many, a real crisis where you've got enemy forces moving in, you've got tanks rolling, you've got to leave stuff behind. There's women, there's children, there's people screaming, there's transcended shells laid on the floor. You kind of don't think about other people. You think about protecting your little group and the people around you. And, that's where we are right now, guys. Right. And this all comes down to trust. If you don't trust the government, if you don't feel safe, how can you trust? I think that's I think if you don't feel safe, how can you trust other people? And right now, people don't feel safe. I don't feel safe. I don't. I won't go I rarely go out the house now. I rarely go out the house after 9. Rarely. You know, like, do you know what, guys? I could probably say this year, I've probably been out the house after 9, like, I could probably count it on one hand, probably less than, and if I am out of the house after 9, it's because I'm working or it's because I'm doing something. Right, so just a quick one here from Audrey. Audrey Thompson is saying, is it true that there was a mass smoother, because we're streaming on YouTube, TikTok still, from yesterday arrested outside Stamford? Yeah, so apparently it was a cosplayer. This guy that was arrested in Chelsea, he was like a cosplayer going to like a Comic Con event or something. The police saw him, jumped on him, and they were like, whoa, what's happening there? So yes and no. So there was a guy arrested because they thought he was a mass thing. He wasn't. He was just going to like a Comic Con or like a comic convention or something where people dress up. Don't LARP, guys. Don't LARP. Live action role play. Lisa Jane is saying, regarding the little girl in Scotland who is being charged for protecting her sister, I couldn't believe that the person filming everything, they didn't help her or support her. I think the person filming was the person, I'm pretty sure the person filming was the person, it was one of the people who was involved. In the, I think the person filming was one of the people involved. Sorry, guys, give me a sec. Right, let me jump onto the comments on TikTok. Right, ladies and gentlemen, listen, guys, can you do me a real big favor? I know I don't ask you guys to do this enough. Can you hit the follow button if you're watching on TikTok? If you're watching on YouTube, can you hit those buttons below? We are talking about a warning to UK schools right now, guys. Listen, I've done a longer video of this stream. I've done like a longer stream. I've talked about what the government advice would be for the government advice is, if you get that, I mean, again, like, just listen to what we're saying to ourselves, guys. If you get that text message and your school has gone into lockdown, excuse me, I did a live stream. I talked about what the government advice was, and then I gave you guys what I would do. Getting there early is going to be critical, guys. All right, getting there early is going to be critical. Yes, done that one. Debbie Doobs is saying, right, ladies and gentlemen, listen, guys, there's lots of people trying to join my live stream at the moment. Look, guys, if you're trying to join, literally, nobody does. I get lots of people called like Arabic letters, Arabic writing, you know, people from different countries. Like, if you're watching and you want to join, send me an inbox and I'll let you come on. I can't just let people come on because I get like, it just gets weird. You know, I've done it. I mean, I think I've done it 3 times and it's been a disaster each time. So send me an inbox message. Say, hey, Sean, can I come on and talk about X, Y, and Z? Say, hey, Sean, I think you're totally wrong about your stance on X, Y, and Z. Here's why. And I'll say, right, okay, we'll do a split screen. I have no problems with that. I'll do that live, you know. I think it's better live because, you know, I do think it's better to do that live. Anyway, so Sean McKay is saying every single one of us with a brain is in survival mode 100% over many, many issues. Yeah, people are in survival mode right now, guys. You know, that is the reality. When you don't trust that, when you're scared, you don't trust. When you don't trust, you're in survival mode. And that is I'd say that's the majority of people right now. And more people every day are understanding. Like I said, guys, you know, my sister was really, she was all for migration and she loved it. She loved it. She loved it all. Now she's seen migrants trying to get into her garden, standing outside her house, looking into her house. And she's kind of thinking, oh, well, this is not what I expected. I expected like carnivals of like culture. She kind of, it's kind of like your expectation of what you're getting, and then the reality. Then when the reality hits you guys, it's a bitter pill to swallow. Thousands, Google is saying thousands are attending Australia's anti-immigration rallies. UK veteran is saying Putin in China. Yeah, they're having a meeting, guys. You know, so what we do understand is normally when these world leaders meet, when these world leaders meet, that was a surprising tongue twister. When world leaders meet, normally, especially ones like this, normally the Friday after, there's a big development because they talk about things that they wouldn't talk. They certainly wouldn't send text, encrypted or not. They certainly wouldn't have these conversations over the phone because those conversations can be intercepted. So when they have these meetings face to face, a lot of stuff happens the Friday after. UK veterans is saying lots of videos about Trump's help going currently. Yeah, there is, isn't there? Now, I don't know if that's propaganda or if it's legit. Lots of videos going out there talking about Trump's, like, I mean, he looks fit as a fiddle, doesn't he? Like, you know, when he's up there and he's like telling people they're fake news and stuff, he looks powerful. So that's what my eyes are telling me. I don't know if this is like some sort of propaganda rushing around the scenes, but he's not been seen for a while. So I don't know what's happening there. Lisu is saying my kid's school was in lockdown once. It was so scary, but there was no way to get into the school. Yeah, so Lisu, this is what I'm talking about. You need to get there quick. You do need to get there quick. If your kid's school goes in, right, Lisu, like, could you climb over that fence? You know, could you climb over that fence? I think, like, look, guys, and, you know, you're going to have to, like, if the gate's shut and your kids are inside, like, what are you going to do? Like, you know, if it was me, I would be over that fence gate, guys. You know, I would be absolutely over that fence. Maybe even with a, no, I'm not going to say that. I would be over that fence. Lisu is saying the Joanne Yates transcending was in the house that backed onto the school playground. I don't know who she is or was. And Sharon Owen is saying it's been reported that there's more gold in China than America. Well, do you know what? That must mean, Sharon Owen, that the Americans need to get down to Antarctica a lot quicker. You know, a lot quicker than initially thought. Right, let me jump up a second, guys. Right, ladies and gentlemen, we are on. I'm going to be closing this down now on TikTok. Well, in a minute, I'm going to close this down on TikTok. I'll be continuing over on YouTube. I do that because the algorithm on YouTube isn't as restrictive, if that's a word, I think it should be, isn't as restrictive as the algorithm on TikTok. So I will be jumping over shortly, ladies and gentlemen. I will get to the rest of your comments. But what we're talking about today is I believe there is a real threat. There is a real likelihood of an incident happening at a school next. Is it the 1st? No, we're still in August. In September. If we get to the middle of September, the likelihood will start to wane. But that first couple of weeks back at school, guys, that's when I think the hot point would be. I think after around about the 15th, the likelihood is going to go down. If an incident happens in October or later on, and people say, "Oh, but Sean, you said," no, the threat is going to be there. The likelihood for me is going to be at its highest peak in those first 2 weeks. Remember, you know, there are so many data points pointing to this, guys. First of all, the incident in America. You know, we have seen that people who are evil will want to do evil things. Kind of says it on the tin, guys. If you're evil, you want to do the most evil things possible. In the United Kingdom, there have been many, like the amount of people who've inboxed me saying, Sean, our kids have had to go into lockdown. Sean, our kids have been doing lockdown training. Sean, I asked my kids if they'd ever done a lockdown drill, and they say, yeah, we do them every month, or yeah, we do it all the time. You know, so we know that the government are preparing for this. We know the government are preparing for a mass incident. You know, all this stuff's out there. All this stuff's readily... you know, all this stuff's readily available. It's all out there for anyone, for everyone to see. Also, you've got this very strange scenario at the moment in the UK where school teachers are sending letters out to parents and children to tell them not to go near the migrants or to avoid certain areas because there's migrants there when they're walking home. You've also got this peculiar, paradoxical scenario where the government are saying that migrants are not a threat. So where is it, guys? Where does that penny drop? Also, again, I spoke about this earlier. The scenario where I'm going to say migrant men. You know, I need to. Let me be correct. I watched a video, and it was a woman outside a school, and she was talking, and she said she'd phoned the police because at home time, groups of migrant men congregate around the school exit, I guess it would be. These group of perceived, I need to be fair, perceived migrant men are gathering around the school, taking pictures, making video of the kids leaving school. Now, the police came out and the police said there's no law against them standing there and there's no law against them filming. The police, and then the video, tell me if you've seen this video, and then the woman actually goes on to say that the police asked her what she's actually afraid of. And it's one of those things, isn't it, where like you start bringing in those laws where you're not allowed to film people, and then we have no real social media updates from what's happening in these places, because they use those laws then to crack down on people who are dissidenting, I guess, against the government. There's no laws about standing outside of school. But as soon as you bring that law in to stand outside of school, you're not allowed to stand outside of school, it'll come in and it'll be worded, you're not allowed to stand outside within 30 meters of a school or a government building. And then if people go to protest a government building, we're using this law. So it's like, you see how this totalitarianism slides in. It's like it always slides in the back door. And stop laughing, you military guys. So you can see where we're going, can't you, guys? You know, you can see how these laws and legislation get brought in. And ultimately, guys, this all boils down to the fact that we don't have a constitution. So these laws and bits of legislation, they get made up by someone because of something, and they're like, yeah, right, we want to stop people gathering outside government buildings. Yeah, they're gonna tear one down at some point. Right. Have an incident outside of school. People will be screaming for groups of people to be dismissed from outside of school. We change the law. We make the law to say you're not allowed gatherings outside school or government buildings. I promise you guys, that's what it'll be worded. And then the next time there's a gathering outside a council building or a government building, they use that law that was initially put in place to protect our children. They use it to further their own means. And look, guys, if you want to see how bad this is, just look at Angela Rayner. I mean, you guys, I mean, she is like the gift. She is. Angela Rayner is the gift that keeps giving. She's always giving. Angela Rayner is always giving. Like anytime you hear her speak, she's a gift. She's a gift. She's like a content machine. She is. She's like a absolute content machine. But you know, if you want to see the what's the word I'm looking for? The paradoxical nature of where we are. Just look into Angela, look into all the Labour Party. In fact, you know this judge, I don't know if you guys know this. Guys, this is going to be my last comment. This is going to be my last point, and then I'm going to jump over to YouTube, guys, right? So if you've not jumped over to YouTube, please do so now. Make sure you hit those buttons up there, the like, follow, subscribe, bell notification, and the buttons down below. So, you know the judge in this Epping, what's the word? What would you even call it? The Bell Hotel in Epping, the judge. Yeah. So you know the judge who overturned the High Court ruling and said no migrants are allowed to stay there? Yeah? Okay. So it turns out, you can Google this, guys. I'm not saying anything here that's not readily available, like online with a few hits of your fantastic fingers. So that judge who made that ruling that the migrants could stay in that hotel, he was he used to be, I think, the head of something called the Fabian Society. Now, the Fabian Society is a massive communist, socialist, extreme left-wing group. It's like the worst parts of all socialism, guys. And this guy, that judge, he was the head of it. Do you know who else was a member of the Fabian Society? Yeah, you guessed it. Keir Starmer was a member of the Fabian Society before he was elected to Parliament. Now, coincidence? I don't know. But when you've got two people that share the similar sort of secret society left-wing ideology who are good friends, how do you think that went down? How do you think that went down? And because we don't have a constitution in the United Kingdom, you can change and interpret the laws that we have any way to suit yourselves. Any way you want to suit yourselves, guys. And that's the problem with the legal system in the United Kingdom, guys. All right, we don't have a legal system. At government level, they do what they want. I would say in America, at government level, they do what they want. But at least they have, at least they have a way to oppose the government. Here we do not, ladies and gentlemen. We have no way to oppose the government. Right, I'm just going to get these last comments, and then I will jump over to YouTube. UK veterans is saying, I've got a JCB to get in the school gate. UK veterans, can you answer me a real quick question? I don't. This is a bit off topic, but how wide is a JCB? Like if I had to make a gate big enough for a JCB to get into if I had to make an entrance big enough for a JCB to get in my garden, how wide would that have to be? Like realistic, like the bare minimum width. It's probably on Google, isn't it? But what's the width of a JCB? I don't know if you know now. Jody Lee is saying the world will soon understand that nothing can stop what's coming. I agree, Jody. UK veterans, the new Oxford Dictionary by Raven. Moonchild is saying, I live 20 minutes from Glasgow. After the St. Mungo incident, I'm definitely concerned about schools. Let me pin this actually. Yeah. Listen, guys, I'm going to leave this as my I'm going to leave this as my final comment actually. Moonchild Mother 444 is saying, I live 20 minutes from Glasgow, and she's definitely concerned. Look, guys, please go over to YouTube and watch my live stream on what to do if you get that text message that your school has been in lockdown. I've done like an hour. I've done like over an hour's live stream on that, answering your questions, talking about what the government response would be, why the government's response has to be. Remember, the government's response is not to look after your child. It's not. The government response is to contain the situation and minimize any collateral. That is, guys, believe me, I've done it. I've done it at the highest levels. I've done it at the highest levels. And you have to do that. You have to do that, guys. That is really what you have to do. So the government, and they can't as well, they're not interested in your child. They're interested in containing that scenario and minimizing any collateral. That's what they have to do. And that's why I always say, if you do get that text message, get to your school as quickly as possible and move heaven and earth to get your child out. We've talked about that in other live streams. We've talked about hibernate, relocate, evacuate. We've talked about run, hide, fight. We've talked about all that stuff, guys. It's all there, readily available, open source on my YouTube channel. And on that bombshell, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to jump over to YouTube now. I will continue the live stream on YouTube where I can talk a little bit more openly or a little bit more freely. And I will see you guys over there. And I will be back on here at 8. And we're off. We are off, and we're just on with you guys. We are just on with the YouTube. From now, he's saying some councils are pushing back against the government, UK government, over financial pressure on local services, leading to warnings of potential bankruptcy. Yeah. So what's going to happen here is we've already seen the how do I put this? We've already seen councils going bankrupt. So when a council goes bankrupt, they can then raise council tax beyond the government limit. And I do think all council tax is all going up the maximum, which is 4.9%. But if the government is bankrupt, they can raise that beyond that 5% threshold, I think it is. Yeah. So what I see here is what From Now is saying. I see this as the direction that governments would raise council tax. Oh, this is interesting. Ham and eggs. Do you know what ham and eggs? I think I'm going to go and have some eggs in a minute. I've got some Nordic bacon. Am I allowed to say that now? Am I allowed to say I like Nordic bacon? Am I gonna get the SWAT teams coming in? I do what? Ham and eggs. Oh, ham and eggs. Right, so ham and eggs. Listen, I'm going totally off topic here. I'm going on a side quest. I've got some Nordic bacon, and I'm just looking at ham and eggs as profile picture, and I'm thinking about frying some Nordic bacon and then cracking some eggs on top of it and making like an omelette thing, but like with bits of bacon underneath, and then maybe some salt and pepper on top. Yeah, I think I'm going to have that for my, I'm definitely having that for my breakfast. But sorry, totally on a side quest. Ham and Eggs is saying Fabian was a Roman general who believed in conquering incrementally. He invented frog boiling. All right, okay. So what he means there is, if you put a frog into a boiling pan, he's going to jump straight out. If you boil that pan slowly, the frog will stay in it until he dies. And it's like death by 1,000 cuts. It's like the straw that broke the donkey's back. People are at breaking point, and rather than so when I was talking about the example of if the government passed a law whereby the firstborn child has to get put into a boiling pan or whatever, that's there's just a law, you'd have to do it. People would revolt. You would get the frog jumping out the pan. But if consecutive laws over 50, 60 years got closer and closer to that, nobody would notice. Inch by inch, feet by feet, mile by mile, I don't know, maybe we should do metrics, centimeter by centimeter, so it is death by 1,000 cuts. And we are now, we've gone beyond the point of no return now, guys. Let me jump down. There's a lot of stuff. Sanu Deb is saying, is it live or recorded? I think you're talking about the stream. So I'm live right now, Sanu Deb, but it will also be recorded so you can rewind and watch the last bits. And Ham and Eggs is saying, good shout, Raven. I really want this Ham and Eggs. Guys, I may put on my TikTok, I may put it on my story later. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, let's keep to the task at hand, all right? I'm going to be having bacon and eggs later, all right? I don't know if that gets me arrested. It's going to be Nordic bacon. I don't know if that's going to get me arrested or something like that. Like I might have like one of those, Keir Starmer's new, not Keir Starmer, Sadiq Khan's new armored vehicles. I might get one of those, crash the gate through because I'm frying off some bacon. Yeah, and Debbie Dube saying the same thing there. I was going to say about bankrupt councils. Yeah, so we were just talking then about a potential, the potential pushback by local governments, and a lot of local governments may be going bankrupt. Now, if local governments go bankrupt, that means they can raise that council tax threshold to raise more money. Unfortunately, guys, listen, you know how Angela Rayner came out and she said, we're not going to tax working people. No, we're going to tax them billionaires. We're going to take money off them billionaires. They've got loads of money to give about. I know me said, I signed 4 documents and they give me a free house. They've got proper loads of money. Everyone should have 800 grand. Just sign these documents. It's right good. Ultimately, guys, like whether you want to agree with this statement or not, it doesn't matter because it's the truth. Billionaires don't pay. They don't. It's just the way it goes, guys. All right, and it's probably not right. It's but that's the way it goes. If you're a billionaire, I can pretty much guarantee you don't pay tax. Like I probably pay more tax than like most all billionaires. They don't pay tax. They don't have to. And why would you pay tax if you didn't have to? Millionaires that are in the United Kingdom, they are leaving in droves. Millionaires, it's a bit harder when you're a millionaire because you're not over that threshold of you can't touch me. So if you've got like 4, 5, 6, I'd say up to like 20 million or something in the bank, you're kind of paying some sort of tax. You're paying taxes. You're either paying taxes on the people you employ, the products you sell, or the property you've got. You are paying some sort of tax. So those millionaires, they're leaving in absolute droves. So, okay, the millionaires have left. The international companies have left. The rest of the companies that you taxed into oblivion have shut down. So who are you going to tax next, Angela? I mean, Rachel, like who's she coming after next with these taxes? Like eventually, guys, look, one of my business partners, he said to me, he said, Sean, rich people don't pay. Only poor people pay. And unfortunately, guys, that is coming. So if you're at the bottom, if you're at the bottom of this, of this hierarchy, of this triangle, for whatever reason, you find yourself like, ultimately you're going to pay. Things are going to be harder for you, and that's just life. What can you do about it? Understand what's coming. Understand that ultimately taxes are going to go up and the price of the cost of living is going to go up. Your purchasing power from your pound is drastically going down. And even though the government say they're not going to tax working people, if you don't tax, there's 2 ways that a government can get money: taxes, and they can borrow it. Now, if they put taxes up, you have less money. If they borrow it, inflation goes up and your purchasing power comes down. So either way, it's the same. It's just framed differently. UK Veterans is saying Rachel from accounts should start with the deputy PM who just avoided 40k stamp duty. Yeah, so she avoided 40k for her stamp duty. Yeah, she avoided spending 40 grand for the stamp duty of a new 800 grand house. It's crazy, guys, absolutely crazy. But this is the situation we're in, guys, in the UK. And like I said, unfortunately, if you're at the bottom of this of that triangle, it's going to hit you hardest. It is going to hit you hardest. Right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to keep on track, right? I do believe there is a clear threat to schools in the United Kingdom. The first 2 weeks, I think, are going to be critical. I do believe, in my analysis anyway, the threat level will go down after around about mid-September. It's not going to go away. It's still going to be there. So the likelihood is still high. But you're not going to have that critical mass. You're not going to have that critical movement. And people have got back into routine. So what I'm saying is those first 2 weeks, so if we get to mid-September, the threat will slightly taper off, but it will still be there. Spend all our savings now then. So ham and eggs, I wouldn't tell you what to do with your money. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm certainly not qualified to give anyone financial advice. What I will say is the cost of your, I don't know, the cost of ham, the cost of ham will be more this time next year than it is now. So if you can buy things in bulk now, I mean, honestly, guys, I bought like not last year, but the year before. I bought all the food for our preps in the cellar, and I can remember paying £1.50. No, I think it was £1. It was under one, maybe £1.49 for a tin of stewed steak. This summer, I went to the same store. That same tin of stewed steak has gone up to £3.20. I was like, how is that? Like, you talk about investments, right? You talk about like financial investments. Like tinned beef has more than doubled its retail value in 12 months. What else does that, guys? What else do you get more than 100% return in like 12 months? You know, and people are like, oh, I get 2% on this crypto coin, but I might lose it all. Do you know what else you can do with food? You can eat it. Sean, Dean Regeneration says, Sean, what do we tell our younger ones? How do we say if the school goes into lockdown, just be honest with them, just be honest with them. I told the girls, and I told Sarah as well, I said, listen, if you're gonna Skegness, like the beach, because they wanted so this really happened, guys, okay? And this really happened to our family. Sarah took the girls out. She took the girls to Skegness. She said, I'm going out for a beach day. I said, Sarah, what are you going to Skegness for? You're not going to be able to get on the beach. Yeah, they couldn't get on the beach, guys, so you just be honest with them. Just be absolutely, it's going to scare them. They're going to be scared. But you know what? In fact, here's a question for you, D. Marie Gen X. Do you know what, actually? Would you rather your kids be scared or prepared? In fact, that doesn't make sense, does it? Be scared and prepared, not happy and I don't know. But yeah, for us, I just tell the kids what's happening. They're 11 and 12. I just tell them. Freddie is saying, Sean, watch it. The dude is out on bail. He will definitely go for schools. Who are we talking about there, Freddie? Who are we talking about there? Didn't Qatar and the Gulf countries buy most of the properties in Britain they did in France? I know a lot of Middle Eastern money is in London. Now, that's because it's like a tax haven. If you buy property in the UK, you own that property and you don't really have to pay anything else, council tax. But it's a good investment for dodgy money. London's a good investment for dodgy money. From now is saying the police don't come out to shoplifters anymore for less than 300. I thought it was 200. The shops are putting the money up on the goods. Yeah, we said this was going to happen, didn't we? Look, I know I've given this anecdote quite a few times, but I've been to I once went to B&M, right? And there was this guy, and he was on one knee by the coffee pods. You know those? I mean, I don't use them. Those like little coffee pods. You get different flavors. I don't know. Is it Nesquik or Nescafe? Sorry, I don't know. It might not be, but coffee pods. So he's gone in. He's down on one knee, and he's filling his bag with these coffee pods, and he just walks out. I was like, oh, okay, whatever. I went in there again. Exact same thing happened. I don't know if it was the same guy. I didn't really, it might have been the same guy. But second time I went in, I was like, oh, just took him. It's gone. And, I said to the woman, I said, this happened 3 times at the same store. So I don't go in that store all the time. So maybe it was just luck. Maybe it was just luck that every time I went in, that guy or somebody was there stealing the coffee pods. I said to the woman, I said, do I have to pay for these or can I just walk out? She laughed like I said, don't you phone the police? She said, we phoned the police, but they won't come out. They say it's they have to claim off the insurance. So now you've got this scenario. And I saw a black guy as well. Have you seen the video of the black guy in London? I think he's in Leicester Square. He says, do you want me to show you how to get a free drink in London? And he just walks into Greg's. It looks, I think he nods at the security guard, who's also black. He gets a drink, he opens it, he has a little drink, he says, oh yeah, he closes it, and he just walks out with it. And the security guard nods at him on the way out. I'm like, these are the security guards you want on the schools? Are these the security guards we want on our schools, guys? Sorry, guys, I'm waffling. All right, so Freddie's saying the most recent. Give me a second, guys, because there's sorry, guys. Freddie just sent me a video on TikTok. I'm just trying to get it open now. Yeah. Let me see if I can play the audio.
Slice you and your children in the fucking streets. Every fucking Christian on this planet will be crucified. Dublin bitches. I'm so okay, I wanna slice you all. Bitches.
So we have literally got these people now, right, in the UK who are saying, you know, I'm going to do this to every Christian primary school, you know. And you've got the Liberals saying, he's just angry that the economic prospects in his own country are less lucrative than some here in the West. What we need to do is bring this gentleman on board and show him love, show him kindness. Do you know what else? Do you know what else showed people love and kindness? Let me get this up. Do you know what else showed love and kindness? Do you know what else? Do you know what else showed love and kindness? Homeless man beat mother of 3 to death with a mallet after she sheltered him in her own home. Apapale Adum left Victoria Adams face down in a bedroom with a black bag over her head after murdering her. A homeless man, so this guy was a migrant, he'd come here illegally, ergo he was homeless. A homeless man admitted to beating to death a woman who invited him to stay at her home. So there you go, guys. You go woke, you get a hammer in the head. Anyway, there you go, guys. There you go. That's what we're dealing with in the United Kingdom. That's what we're dealing with. Right, let me jump down and get the comments. James is saying Europe is falling apart. Germany industrial center collapsed. Yeah, that collapsed because of Nord Stream 2. Because we don't know who blew. I mean, I don't think it was Biden. Can you imagine Joe Biden in the water? We're gonna go blow this pipe up. Which way is it again? You're in the swimming pool in your house, mate. Okay, where do I go? Where do I swim? Like it may have been the Americans. It may have been like a drone. I don't know. But yeah, certainly there's a lot of information out there that said that it may be. We still today get our oil from Russia, by a third party, and we pay double. You're 100% right, James. Not only do we get our oil from Russia via India, who are making a ton of money in the middle, we are sat in the UK on the world's biggest oil reserves, but we're not allowed to get it because our tiny, less than 2% of global emissions We're going to sort that out. We are going to sort our 2% emissions out, and we're not going to take our oil, and we are going to destroy ourselves. More taxes are coming, ladies and gentlemen. Sean, man on your phone in Dublin, he was in jail, and he poured kettle of hot water on his cellmate, beat him, they let him out, walking the streets again. Yeah, this is it, guys. This is it. We are literally in a scenario right now. We are in a scenario right now in the United Kingdom, guys, where the police won't protect us, but they won't let us protect ourselves. You literally phone the police up. Can you come and protect me? No. Well, can I protect myself? No. If you protect yourself, I'll come out and arrest you. Oh, what do I do then? Oh, just sit there quietly. Oh, okay. Literally, that's where we are, guys. That's where we are. Right, listen, ladies. Oh, hang on. Yeah, make this one make sense, guys, okay? Energy prices are going up in the UK while wholesale gas is down. Make that make sense. Green agenda, guys, that's what it's all about. Green agenda, destroy people. We pay so much for energy in the United Kingdom, guys. It's unbelievable. Ian McMahon is saying, I'm off to live in the woods. Yeah, there's a lot of migrants living in woods as well, in like little tented cities. Right, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to close this down now. I will be back on at 8. Just the crux of this video, guys. All right, I do believe there is a credible threat to schools. I think that first 2 weeks is going to be absolutely key. That first 2 weeks back at school, so like tomorrow and like the next 2 weeks, basically, massive, lots of data points pointing towards an incident. That's all I'm going to say. At each school, you've got the incident in America. You've got the schools in the United Kingdom doing lockdown drills. You've got the government in the United Kingdom planning for a mass incident. You've got masses of migrants for some reason seem to gather outside schools or at home time. I don't know why. Maybe it's just a culture thing, and there's nothing the police can do. We are literally at a scenario right now where we cannot protect ourselves, and we're not allowed to protect ourselves. This all comes down to, this is all leading to, I believe, a United States takeover of the United Kingdom. And then ultimately, we are going to see a mass exodus to Antarctica. But that's not going to happen for a long time. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to go now. And I am, yes, eggs and hammered and eggs. I am going to have Nordic bacon and eggs. Maybe I'll get arrested for it, guys. I don't know.